So the epic musical event of the year is here, to much applause and a little bit of scrutiny. I mean, most musicals are fairly hit or miss, but this one especially seems to be a love it or hate it type of movie. Which side do I fall on? Well, you should probably know that I'm a huge sucker for musicals. Let's start with that. This isn't a traditional musical. This is an opera style musical. As in there are maybe a dozen spoken lines in the entire 2.5 hour movie. They never stop singing. Personally, I'm okay with this as long as the songs are good, but I can understand it getting on people's nerves. And the music is good. I think this is a good basic thing to start off with, seeing as it's a musical. Okay, elephant in the room. Yes, all of the songs in Les Mis were recorded live, while filming, not months in advance in a studio. Some people hated this. They are idiots. I think they fully succeeded in the purpose of using this technique. All of the songs feel like they were sung in that moment, which they were. Here's why that works. When you go to a musical, you have to suspend your disbelief a lot. I mean, these movies take place in worlds where not only is it okay for people to just sporadically break into song, fully orchestrated musical numbers to express their feelings, but others that they've never had previous contact about the song with, or even people like across the world, can join in perfect harmony. This is the world where Les Mis takes place in. We're talking about a world where people can just sporadically break into song. Fine, we passed that. We're past that threshold. So once we're past that, this musical style allows it to live in that world. Now here's what I mean. The songs feel as if the characters in this world are actually singing on the spot. It's not perfected. It's not processed like it would be in a studio. It feels like in the world where people can break into musicals, these characters break into musical numbers. I think this is a great benefit to the film as a whole. It lets the actors, while performing the scene that a song takes place in, kind of pick up on some undertones or subtle emotions that they can then express through the song, which they wouldn't have been able to do, just in some studio. It also lets the actors focus on acting and not, matching their mouth up with the recording playing on set. And think about it. This type of musical, it happens every single night on stage. And that's what it's based off of. So it kind of makes sense. I think this is a good technique. I hope a lot more musicals use it. And now that we have that controversy out of the way, we can move on. Like I was saying, the music is great. And a few really stuck out. I want to really quickly just kind of give a sentence or so of my thoughts on each. The Look Down song is great, how it changes meaning throughout the film. It starts as the prisoners kind of singing to each other. It's like, look down, don't get in trouble, just accept the burden. But then later in the film, it's sung by the revolutionaries to the richer people that's kind of oppressing them. It's like, look down, acknowledge us, and most importantly, see the threat. The Confrontation, which is a song between Hugh Jackman and Russell Crowe, is a great kind of duel between the two characters and their, ideologies. Lovely Ladies is a song about prostitution, and it's twistedly catchy. Castle on the Cloud, while it sounds really dumb, it's actually pretty touching when sung by a little girl, and I think this works really well because the simplistic language that it's written in and kind of the simple imagery, you could say, works in the song's favor because it's sung by a little girl, so it feels like this is something a younger child would think about and, maybe want to express sporadically through musical numbers. Again, just get past that threshold. Red and Black is very clever how it uses the same chorus to express two very different meanings that are kind of debating each other throughout the entire number. On My Own is very powerful and depressing, and we'll get to why later. One More Day really picks up when all of the characters start singing it together, and they all share the same chorus, but the lyrics themselves are very, very different. Empty Chairs, Empty Tables was a surprisingly decent look at Survivor's Guild. Master of the House is impossible to get out of your head. It is so well performed, so well edited, it makes me angry. But all of these are put to shame by what is by far the most emotional song in the film, I Dreamed a Dream. Anne Hathaway poured her soul into this number, and it shows. It's heart-wrenching, it's beautiful, yet very, very gritty, it's unrefined, and that just adds to the emotional meaning of the song. I'm not ashamed to admit that I Dreamed a Dream brought tears to my eyes. Okay, that's not true. I am a little ashamed. Les Mis suffers from what every musical I have ever seen suffers from, for some reason, every single musical. The second half is nowhere near as good as the first half. I think this is because the second half is always full of those slow, self-reflective songs that characters do on their own, and these always seem pointless to me. I mean, I know what a person's thinking in the moment. I don't really need a 3-minute number explaining it. I don't know why people always do this. I think it's because they're hoping that the audience is more emotionally invested into the characters in the second half, so they put them all in the second half where they're a little more passable. But I just don't think it works. I don't think it works with a film, especially because there's no intermission, there's no distinction between the two halves. So it just feels like the pacing's off and nothing more. There's more reason to this than just the different songs, though. The first half focuses on Russell Crowe chasing Hugh Jackman's character, who breaks his parole to kind of make a new life for himself. And he runs, around. And he eventually ends in some town. He becomes mayor. Russell Crowe finds him, and he leaves with the daughter of Anne Hathaway to Paris to start a new life. Jump ahead 9 years, which is the second half, where the second half starts, and it decides to focus on a romance. How does this romance start? Well, Anne Hathaway's daughter, which is now one of the main characters, grown up, sees a young revolutionary from across the street, and they both know it's instantly true love. Yep, it's one of those love stories. Seriously, I know this is based on an older play, but the whole love at first sight plot is just stupid. Now, don't get all sentimental on me and say, "Oh, love at first sight exists." It doesn't. It just doesn't. You cannot be in love without saying a single word to each other. Now, attraction at first sight exists. Look, I'll show you. I'll just whip out my phone here. I'm gonna Google "sexy woman." Okay. Yeah. Okay. Instantly recognize. Yeah. Yeah. Attractive woman. Yeah. Am I in love? No. Am I going to throw away my cause that I was about to die for, a few minutes before? No. Am I going to run around saying that my life isn't complete without her? No. Only a moron would do that, and that's how these two characters come across, as morons and incredibly shallow. Sorry, I just can't get over how much this romance doesn't work. I can't get into these little idiots' relationship when all they know about each other is they found each other pretty. Sorry, I can't do it. I actually really cared about the relationship between Marius, the idiot main romantic male lead, and Eponine, one of his friends, who he has completely friend-zoned. All she wants in life is to be with him, but he's now all obsessed with this girl he saw once. Whereas he and Eponine actually have known each other for quite some time, and they have an actual foundation for a relationship. But no! This idiot has to go chase his Disney fantasy, leaving her to sing one of the best songs in the movie, On My Own, which I mentioned earlier. To be fair, this story arc has a actually pretty good conclusion, almost making the frustration worth it. Jean Valjean, played by Hugh Jackman, is just like the entire movie. I was very much invested in him in the first half, especially after seeing what he did for Anne Hathaway's character. But in the second half, he just kind of becomes bland. He became way too paranoid, but thank goodness they skipped the whole "I must protect my daughter against these terrible men. Oh, it turns out you're a good man. She was never mine to protect. Go get married." Oh, thank goodness they skipped that cliche. I would say that I would have liked the religious aspects of this character to be looked into a little bit more. I guess that seeing such a terrible world that, Les Misérables takes place in, would, kind of make him doubt his faith a bit, and that would have given him something really good to overcome in the second half, which would have made him more interesting in the second half. But again, this is just nitpicking. Russell Crowe plays. What's his name? Javert? Don't give me that. How am I supposed to know his name? It's not like he ever says it in any of the songs. Okay, to be fair, a lot rhymes with Javert, and it's always awesome when he name drops himself. Don't know why. I like Russell Crowe in this a lot. I think he has a great voice. I loved all the songs he did, especially the solo ones. I think it fits exactly what the character would sound like. And his character is very fascinating. A man who's just totally unable to see past this incredibly narrow black and white world he's either constructed for himself or maybe has been told about. And when he's confronted with, the fact that his worldview doesn't work, he doesn't handle it well. I don't think I can spoil something that's literally the name of a song in the back of the album, can I? And that leaves us only with Anne Hathaway. She is amazing, like I said before. She carries the title Les Misérables. I mean, she is the Miserable. Her character really is heartbreaking and done well in every single scene, every single aspect, but I'm afraid she didn't have quite enough screen time to get a Best Supporting Actress Oscar nomination, but I would certainly argue she deserves one. Now let's get to the final score. The first half of Les Mis is in the high 80s, possibly low 90s, depending on my mood. But the occasionally boring and just kind of drawn out second half, along with that just ridiculous romantic focus, really does bring down the overall quality quite a bit. In the end, though, I feel very comfortable giving Tom Hooper's Les Misérables a 76. This is a very grand musical, and even in the second half, hits some very strong emotional notes. I'm not going to give it the full thumbs up, though, instead opting for the thumbs sideways, the neutral one, just because if this film misses with you, holy cow, it will miss with you. If you don't like the constant singing or musicals in general, steer well clear of Les Mis, because it never ceases to be what it is, if that makes sense. However, for those who do enjoy musicals, like myself, and I think the majority of people do, I would highly suggest it. And that's all for this review. Just so everyone knows, this isn't, the total upgrade. I know I have the B-roll in the scale, but this is like version 1.5. I've got a green screen now, I've got an awesome camera on the way, and an awesome producer on the way, so expect some huge upgrades in the next review I do, which will be Zero Dark 30.